Hey, thanks for joining me again. I'm Praxis. You probably already know me, and if you don't, be nice or be quiet. I was really looking forward to doing this again. I don't know, I really had fun doing the last episode. I don't know what it is. Maybe it actually kind of does feel like I'm having coffee with someone. Maybe it is that. I would say the emotional experience is somewhat close to what I got out of therapy. Like, I just get to talk about myself a little bit in a way that I don't do when I'm alone, right? Like, I don't usually sit here and talk to myself as if there was another person in the room. But with you I do. And I think that's probably good, right? Anyway, just like last time, I've got a cup of coffee here. We will call it quits when it's empty. Cheers. So I'm trying to mix the audio a little bit louder this time. I hope this sounds alright. I'm also gonna do a little bit more post-processing on the audio. Maybe there's probably a way actually, to like remove the occasional lip smack. Just, you know, as erotic as it is, it's also a little bit distracting. At least to me while editing. I don't know. So, how have you been? I'm considering doing it a little bit Dora the Explorer style, where I ask you questions and like leave a little bit of time for you. I feel very silly right now trying to explain that. I think my real inspiration for that idea is B and Puppycat's Pretty Patrick. A mutual on Fatty had been posting about B and Puppycat for a while, so it stayed on my mind essentially. And I don't know, I like this format. It feels very, very social. I know it isn't quite socializing, but I never expected the, you know, parasocial relationship that can like manifest in like this kind of format. I never really imagined the other side of that, and there is another side. You know, like as a creator doing these things that can offer themselves to parasocial relationships, there is a parasocial side for the creator too, and it feels very social. And you know, it's only kind of parasocial because I'm mainly sending this to actual friends. But you know, you might stumble over this, find this channel and be like, oh, what's this? Let's check this out. And if I keep going and you can get like used to it and you keep tuning in, you're gonna build up a parasocial relationship with me. And at the same time, while I do this on a weekly basis, talk to this amalgamation of friends and like, you know, potential viewers, that is something. There is something there. It's kind of, you know, an almost person essentially. Like there is an entity there. just like I am an entity in like a parasocial relationship. An entity that isn't a real me, but still, you know, that you build a relationship with. In fact, I would argue to a certain extent, and I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I would argue to a certain extent, that's kind of how all relationships work. Just for most of them, for the ones that are real, for the ones you talk to bilaterally, the entity that you build the relationship with is much closer to the actual person in most cases. But I still think that there's an entity, there's this mirror image of a person you have a relationship with in your mind that is like the object of that relationship, or the subject, not the object. And in a sense, when you love the real person, you know, love the entity and vice versa, right? Like you love the idea of them, you love the person you hold in your mind, and you extend that love to the actual person. I don't know why I decided to start this on like weird fringe philosophy. And there's probably like some actual philosophy out there that I'm not too familiar with that actually talks about all of that. What a way to start this, you know, this coffee off with, you know, some deep philosophical things about parasocial and unparasocial relationships. Anyway, I better make some progress here. So, I went to a meetup yesterday. I was very anxious, it was very scary. So what I went to is the Foreigners meetup in my local area, which is basically an English-speaking meetup in, you know, a non-English speaking country. And I didn't really know what to expect all that much. So first off, I did have a great time. Just let me make that clear. I did have a great time. I got to know a couple people I've been looking forward to getting to know. Not all of them. I missed one person, but you know, I got to know a couple names I had known, and I thought, oh, they're pretty cool. I wonder if they can perceive me. It turns out they can, actually. But yeah, so it was basically just, we were like 14, 15 people hanging out in a bar. It was a craft beer thing. I'm not huge on beer or alcohol. I'll have a cocktail, but they're expensive, so, you know, not really. It was overwhelming. It was very overwhelming, actually. It was hard to understand people because, of course, you know, like, it's a bar, it's gonna be loud. But besides, you know, despite the peer pressure drinking that comes with being at a bar, besides the noisiness, the sensory, all the sensory stuff, I did end up having a great time. I went through a lot of anxiety beforehand because, you know, uncertainty and, you know, socializing in 2014. Oh my god. 2024? There we go. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It's 2024. Yeah. What was I talking about? Right, because, you know, I had a lot of anxiety. I was socializing in 2024, right? As someone who does consider themselves to be somewhat of a homebody, right? I like staying here. I like being here. I like that it's quiet. I like that I can hear things. And I also like not spending money. You kind of gotta spend money. I know that there are like, you know, you can just not drink. You can just, you can be in a bar without paying if you're in a group of people who are paying. It's no big deal. But, you know, it's easier to conform when I'm, you know, completely out of my depth. It's easier to, you know, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, within reason. And in this case, you know, the Romans were a bunch of queer furries, so it wasn't half bad. At least a fair amount of them were queer. So anyway, how do you like what I've done with the place? I've tried to spruce it up a little. I'll have to see what it looks like when I'm done. So yeah, I thought it looked a little bit plain. So I unplaned it. I made it better. I'm gonna see what else I can improve about that, or if this is enough. We will see. You'll see. I'll see. We both will see with different eyes. I am a bit tired from yesterday. At the same point, I am weirdly energized. And maybe that's, you know, maybe that's delusion. But I feel like I should be feeling pretty dissociated, but I don't. I don't feel fully normal either, but I don't feel like I'm far away from myself. If anything, I feel things in higher intensity right now than I am used to or want or whatever. And, you know, all of it, right? Like the good, the bad, you know. Just like I felt the anxiety the day before in high intensity. Now I'm just feeling things in higher intensity than I know what to do with, and it's freeing me up a little. I think I'm gonna look more into Bevy again. For those who don't know, Bevy is a maturing game engine based on Rust. I'm saying it's maturing because it's still not there. There's no editor right now. There's no editor. They are working on it. You gotta do everything programmatically here. That's gonna make it harder to make things when you aren't used to the engine. So I'm afraid I'm gonna have to do. I'm afraid. I'm afraid I will have to do a lot of getting used to the engine. On the other hand, what I have to do next semester is make a continuous delivery pipeline. And I think Bevy might be a great pick for that. As in, like, a great project to send through that pipeline. And, you know, what you do in such a pipeline, for those who don't know, I'm gonna try to be accessible when I can. It builds the project from its code, and then it puts it on all the places you wanted to put it on. Deploying it, as we call it. So I'm gonna have to look into that anyway, and I think Bevy might make a better project to do that with than Godot, which was my original plan. Not that Godot wouldn't work on something like that, but I know how to test stuff in, you know, Bevy or Rust. I don't know how to test stuff in Godot, and testing is also very, you know, integral to the pipeline. I'll keep you updated. Oh well, my cup is empty. What about yours? That's right, I never asked you what you had today, if you had anything. I'm sorry. I should have done that. About whatever you had, if you had anything. I hope it was nice. We're gonna wrap this up now, so, as always, you can stay cute, stay loved, and I guess we will see each other next week. It might be a little bit late next week. I won't be home until Monday. I'm gonna figure it out. You're gonna have to wait a little. I promise you I haven't forgotten it. It's just gonna take a little bit longer. Bye.